Gen friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. So the names were taken and Pakistan is very upset. I don't know why should Pakistan be upset. These organizations are proscribed organizations named by the United Nations. China is smuggling raw material and making drugs. Okay, while this is technically a painkiller. Gen friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Ladies and gentlemen, while leaving for Egypt, Prime Minister of India, Modi ji, addressed a gathering at the John F. Kennedy Center in Washington, and he spoke about, conviction, he spoke about compassion, and he spoke about a lot of things, but the way he said was conviction, commitment, compassion, etc. And he said that there have been investments from the United States of America and India has also invested in the United States. And he said one very important thing. He said that whenever India has become powerful, the world has benefited. I think it's also an indirect swipe at China, because when China became powerful, the world started bleeding. China is like a leech. China will suck away your blood and give you nothing in return. But India is different. Now, the China example is mine. Prime Minister Modi did not use the word China. He did not take China as name that I'm using, but this is how I interpret his message. And his message was that whenever India has gained strength, whenever India has become powerful, the world has gained. And then he gave the example of, the famous example of COVID-19. Our economy is resilient. Our economy bounced back. And once we created the vaccine, not only did Indians get it, we shared it with the world. Those who could buy it, bought it. Those who could not buy it, who did not have the money, got it free of cost. And this is exactly what Prime Minister Modi has been saying, This is exactly what he's saying, that making India strong is in the world's best interests, because when India becomes strong, everybody benefits. India is not a selfish power. When we have something, we share it with the world. This is India's heritage. This is India's history. Now, apart from that, he said that India's success and its biggest driving force is the aspiration of the people. So he spoke about how the Indian middle class is aspirational, how the Indian middle class wants more, it wants to achieve more. So here are parents who are investing a lot of money in the education of their kids. There are more people in India who are willing to take risks. Now, risk-taking is not an Indian trait, not a very big Indian trait. Of course, there have been communities in India, business communities in India, traditionally, who are traditional risk takers. But today, people from middle class, people who belong to very middle class families will go and say that, hey, I have a startup here. And a failed startup is no longer a matter of shame. It's all right. You fail in one startup, you get funding for the other. It's starting to happen in India. What happened in the United States of America 30, 40 years back is now happening in India. I'm talking about the thought process. I'm talking about the attitude and the aptitude. So this is a risk-taking India. An India that wants to invest in technology and education. An India that wants to invest in its future, the future of its children. I think this is the new India that Prime Minister Modi is trying to project there. And a lot of people, the standing ovation, and a lot of people said, this is fantastic. We have never heard something like this before. And people not only bought into it, they subscribed to that model, they subscribed to that emotion of India, I think, and that is Prime Minister Modi's biggest win in his visit to the United States of America. Also, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said that we plan to invest $15 billion in India. Till now, he said that Amazon has invested $11 billion in India so far. And further, we plan to invest $15 billion in India. And so here are the news points for Amazon. He said e-commerce giant Amazon plans to invest USD 15 billion more in India, taking its total investment in the country to US 26 billion. I had a very good and productive conversation with Prime Minister Modi. I think we share a number of goals. Amazon is one of the biggest investors in India. We have invested 11 billion till date and intend to invest another 15 billion, which will bring the total to USD 26 billion. We are very much looking forward to the future of partnering. This is Andy Jassy, CEO of Amazon. In another news, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet, which is the mother company for Google, etc., he said that Google or Alphabet plans to invest around $10 billion in India, specifically in the state of Gujarat. So they are also investing additional $10 billion. So this is about $26 billion just between two companies. But I still think that the biggest deal that has happened is that GE engine. Yeah. With that GE engine technology coming to India, and India, I am 100% sure, ladies and gentlemen, is going to end up making it at one-fourth the cost. Same quality, same everything, one-fourth the cost, half the time. This is what Indians do very well. So we'll make a cheaper version of it, same quality, half the time. And this will power a lot of planes. It powers the F-18. This is going to power the Tejas. Fantastic, world-class engine. India is going to make it. This is the holy grail, mind you. Apart from that, Pakistan has gotten very, very upset with India, and they've said that India's statements and the US-India statement on Pakistan is misleading because the joint statement said that Pakistan must call into account Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. So the names were taken and Pakistan is very upset. I don't know why should Pakistan be upset. These organizations are proscribed organizations named by the United Nations. Why should Pakistan be upset? If you're harboring terrorists, you should not do it. And Pakistan is saying it's all wrong. It's not wrong. You have been in the FATF. The world knows you as a terrorist state, a terrorist nation. Otherwise, why should you be in the FATF? You've been in the FATF 3 or 4 times. This is not the first time. You've been 3 times before in the FATF, not the 4th time, I think. For nearly 4 years, Pakistan was in the FATF. And Pakistan said, no, Hafiz Saeed had nothing to do with it. Why have you arrested Hafiz Saeed if he has got nothing to do with anything at all? You have arrested him, you have put him in jail or in a 5-star guest house or a 7-star guest house. He's your state guest, Hafiz Saeed, but you have him in custody. There are FIRs filed regarding 2611 in Pakistan. So how is Pakistan saying it's not involved? I've got 2 interesting international news which I want to share with you. First of all, US files charges against fentanyl makers in China, first time ever. So the United States Department of Justice, ladies and gentlemen, on Friday, that is yesterday, slapped criminal charges against 4 Chinese chemical manufacturing companies and 8 individuals. Allegations against these companies and individuals are that they are illegally trafficking chemicals which are used to make fentanyl, which is a highly addictive painkiller, which is one of the drugs mainly responsible for the opioid crisis in the US. The indictment represents the first time the US has gone ahead to prosecute Chinese companies for making precursor chemicals that are used to make painkillers. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited China earlier this week. He made it clear that the US needs much greater cooperation from China to stem the flow of fentanyl. Now, what is this? China is smuggling raw material and making drugs. Okay, while this is technically a painkiller, but what China is doing is it is selling it as, making it in such a manner that, drug addicts also use it. This is what China is doing, and this is the first time that a Chinese company is being indicted. And I'm telling you, it has also something to do with Prime Minister Modi's visit. Now, India is also doing the same thing. Do you remember how the enforcement directors raided Chinese mobile companies in India? How these raids are starting against Chinese companies in India. And they've been asked to pay fines of more than 5,000 or 7,000 crores or something like that. Their executives are being questioned every time. India has gone hammer and tongs after Chinese companies in India, and America has just started off. India banned those apps, Chinese apps, and China was very upset. And then America followed suit. Many of these apps were banned in America also, in Europe also. Britain banned those apps. Many of those. Not all, but many of those. So it is starting to pick up momentum. And now more and more Chinese companies will come under scrutiny in America. More and more Chinese companies. This is just the beginning. And I think this is exactly why Prime Minister Modi went to US. He essentially went to the US to ensure that American companies left China and came to India. I think that was his priority number 1. The jet engines and the UAVs and Google, Alphabet and Amazon, etc. are very welcome. But I think what he was actually looking at, one of his top agendas in his item list was the movement of companies from China to India. I think that is what Prime Minister Modi went to America for. And let's see if he succeeds, but it looks like he has hit the mark. Now, another news which I'm going to share with you today is about the Wagner Group in Russia. The Wagner Group apparently has revolted, and the Wagner Group has said that, we're going to go all the way to topple Russia's military leadership. Now, who's Russia's military leadership? Ladies and gentlemen, Russia's military leadership essentially is what they're referring to is their defense minister. And the defense minister, his name is Sergei Shoigu. And this guy of the Wagner Group, Prigozhin, I'll never be able to pronounce his name in my life. Prigozhin says that Shoigu is a crook. He's a culprit. He is the reason why, so many Russian soldiers have died. He accused Shoigu of airstrikes and missile strikes against individuals of the Wagner Group. And you see images on your screen, and these images are, of course, the Wagner Group people, trying to enter Russia, trying to enter various cities and all. This guy wants to march, the Wagner Group chief, he wants to march all the way to Moscow to dislodge their defense minister. He's saying this defense minister and his establishment is rotten and it needs to come down. Now, who's going to win? Obviously, Putin is going to win. I don't have any doubts. 110% Putin will win. But this shows Russia in a very, very bad light. You used a group, an armed mercenary group, which is half full of criminals. Yes, this guy, this head of the Wagner Group, he actually went to jails in Russia. He took out hardened criminals. He gave them a uniform, gave them a weapon, and he said, there's a pardon waiting for you if you fight in Ukraine. He sent criminals to fight into Ukraine. You don't do that. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is wrong. Let me state, it's wrong. What Ukraine is doing is also wrong. Not just fighting back. Don't get all romantic about Ukraine and say that, no, they're fighting for independence. There is another side to the story. There is another side to the story of Ukraine. And what Ukraine is doing is also incorrect. And what Russia did, invasion of Ukraine, also incorrect. Whatever be the provocation of NATO, etc. I know all the stories, you know all the stories. But the fact of the matter is that you do not send criminals to fight your war. You don't do that. Modern armies don't do that. If you have a problem, this is exactly what Pakistan does. And I'm sorry to I apologize to my Russian friends. I'm not making a comparison between you and Pakistan because there is no comparison to be made. You're a military superpower and Pakistan is like nothing. But, Pakistan sends terrorists to fight its wars. You can't send criminals from jails, mercenaries fighting your war. That's not how armies fight. At least that has been my teaching in the Indian Army. I don't know if I'm right or wrong or whether my ideals or the ethics of the Indian Army are subscribed to by other armies in the world. I don't know, but this is what the Indian Army thinks. That, if the Wagner Group fought as a part of the Russian army, I can understand mercenaries fighting. Mercenaries do fight wars. But to get criminals from inside jails and tell them that, hey, here is a weapon and go and fight. Criminals will be criminals. They will not follow rules. They will have no discipline. Because they're essentially people who are sick in the mind. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to this Wagner Group, but they have revolted against the Russian state and we're waiting for what Putin does. And we know when Putin comes down, he will come down very, very heavily. This guy, this head of the Wagner Group was he was called the chef to Vladimir Putin. He was in jail. When he came out of jail, he started a restaurant. That restaurant became very famous. And when that restaurant became very famous, Putin started eating from that restaurant. This guy started organizing parties for Putin. And then he won that famous, that nickname of being a chef to Vladimir Putin. And then he started off with a small group that did trolling and did cyber attacks on the US, tried to impact the US elections. And then this Wagner Group, mercenary group, very famous, has operations in Africa, operations in Asia, operations all over the world, supported by the Russian regime. But today, they have turned against the Russian. He was speaking against the Russians for a very long time, this guy. He was speaking against the Russian Ministry of Defense for a very long time. But it's only in the last 48 hours that he has openly revolted against the Russian state, accusing them of killing his men, firing missiles into his camp and killing people, for which he has not provided any proof. But then if you do business with criminals, this is bound to happen. They have no code of honor. They have no code of conduct. Ladies and gentlemen, now I come to Ask Major. The first question is Analyzer India. I would request all of you to send your names because I can't say Jai Hind Analyzer India. Sounds very weird. So just help me and just write your names, please. Hello, sir. Hello, Analyzer India. Can US be considered a trusted partner of India, as on one hand they say they respect India and support India against China, and on the other hand they publish false reports like the media freedom in India? Actually, you know what? US government does not publish these reports. These are published by independent think tanks. But let that independent think tank tag not fool you. Because it is the deep state inside the United States of America, the CIA, etc., that controls such things. And it has been the policy it has been the policy of all countries, and let's not name those countries, all countries, to even spy on their friends, to influence their friends. The Americans, who are their closest allies in the world, who are the closest allies? It's UK and Israel, and they spy on both, and both of them spy on the United States of America. There are Israeli spies who are in jail in the US. And the US says that any attack on Israel is an attack on the United States of America. They're that close. But they spy on each other. This is the norm, so don't worry about it. And can US be trusted partner? See, as long as you maintain your strategic sovereignty and your independence, everybody's a trusted partner. The next question is, been around internet. Jai Hind, Major. Hi, Major Jai Hind. Been around. I'm sorry, I can't read your name. I'll be happy if you send me your name next time. When India becomes a weapons manufacturer in future, how do you foresee us navigating the conflicts as a potential arms supplier to a country that may be in war with one of our friendlies? We surely cannot retain the strategic autonomy we have today. Interesting question. Very interesting question, even though I don't know your name, sir. The thing is that, you see, India is already a weapons manufacturer. But, you see, all these people know when you supply weapons, we take great care. Because weapons are not the same as supplying soap or supplying a television set. Weapons kill people. So every country is extremely, extremely conscious to whom they give their weapons. And India will also be extremely... Very intelligent question that you have asked, and thank you for asking this question. India will be very particular as to who they supply these weapons to. You can't hand out these weapons like cookies. It doesn't work like that. So India is going to be very... India will supply to friendly states, right? And friendly countries. And if two friendly countries fight, then India will have to step in diplomatically or say that, okay, we are not going to supply. It depends on the agreements that you sign. It depends a lot on what you have agreed to. And there is a lot of fine print. I mean, it goes on for thousands of pages, this fine print. And it takes years and years and years to actually start supplying stuff. It's not like, you send an advance payment and within 1 month, a cargo of color TV reaches America from India. No, that's not how it happens. It happens a little bit differently. So there's a lot of detailing there, a lot of geostrategic aspects to weapon supply and manufacture. And let us see how it pans out. I hope the day comes where India is a global supplier of arms and ammunition. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, press like. Share this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.